Hey there, Floriology friends. We thought we would do a simple share today on making a corsage just out of what we happen to have on hand. But we're going to give you some tips that can be used for just about anything that you might have. I like to use a UGlue strip because it doesn't mess up any kind of fabric. If you pin things through some of today's fabrics, it might leave a little pin tear or a little hole in the process. Same thing on suit jackets, on tuxedos, things like that can easily mar up a lapel. So we're going to start by taking off the tape on one side, and we're basically putting two UGlue strips together, and you'll understand why in just a minute. We can just toss that one piece off to the side. And anytime I'm doing corsage work, I like to take a damp cloth, just wet a towel, wring it out pretty well so that it's just damp, and I lay all of my products on the towel. That way they're constantly getting moisture. It keeps them at their peak whenever you're going to put them together. Now, as we, again, turn back to the UGlue strip, we've glued two of them together. Off of that one that you glued on top that still has two pieces of paper, you're going to peel off one side. That's going to leave you one side to glue things to, and then you leave that back side on until it's actually peeled off, and you're going to adhere it to whomever's going to wear it. So we've got the exposed side here on the front, and taking just a regular one extension of gypsophila or million star, any kind of gyp that you want to use. I've made little clusters, taking off one piece like this, pull the pieces off to make a small cluster like so. I like to be neat and tidy so that we're cutting down on the amount of products that we have. And then we're going to mash those stems into the UGlue strip until we get it covered in both directions. So you can see, just mashing it right down into there. We're going to flip it back the other direction. Let's clean some of those stems up so that we are covering. We want to make sure that we cover the UGlue strip paper because we don't want to see that through. And this is just for those that don't like doing wire and tape. You want to cut down on the amount of glue that you might be using for whatever reason. Okay, we've got our base started here so that it's all good and covered. We're going to take a simple corsage bow that I just used the ribbon itself to bind it together, and we're going to get that in the center. People still love to have their bows on corsages, things like that. We don't use a whole lot of ribbon anymore. Just putting a little tiny bit of glue on that back side, keeping our glue standing up so that it doesn't dry up. And then we're going to mash it right down into our gyp. And you may have to mash it a couple times just to make sure that it has adhered. I always like to go inside the fronds a little bit, make sure that it's mashed down everywhere. So we can see that our corsage is going to be like so. And then we're going to decide what products that we're going to put in. I like using the unopened pieces of the mini carnations just so that we get a little different look than just that full-blown open card. We're going to use that as our main flower that's on there. And you want to put the glue on the wound wherever you've cut that off of. Stand it right back up there. That way it can wait. Because remember, the glue has to have a little moment to aerate before it adheres very easily. Putting a little glue on the stem just so that I can get started. And that piece is going to nestle right down inside. The reason that we're using the little wads of the gypsophila is because it will accept the glue very easily. we can probably go ahead and get both of these with a little glue on them as well. I've also got some little tiny pieces of huck, green huck, that are right over here. We'll do those probably next. We've got 2 buds that are stuck down in here, and you can see that that one's already set up. So now we're putting the other piece in that direction, put one down here. Now let's go back to that open carn because we don't want it to get too dry, and you can see that it right away sits right down in there, and you can touch where you want it to go, move it away, and then touch again to make sure that it is clearly adhered. We're also going to put in a couple of Alstroemeria blooms. Let's get those ready. We are covering the wound. Again, just a tiny little bit of glue. You can see it doesn't take very much on there. Tiny little bit on here. Always putting that cap right back on so that that doesn't dry up too quickly. Taking the first bloom that we had, and I'm going to nestle it down under right in here, touch where I want it to go, move it away for a moment, and then touch it again to make sure that it is adhered. Let's go back up here, and we're going to nestle that one in right behind the other bloom. You're trying to create that depth in your design. It should have that design curve going from front to back. We've got a couple of other blooms here that we can use. Hey, let's put our huck in there. Add in that foliage before we get too far. And these pieces, I like to add the glue on the stem and then tuck it down in, because it's going to set up pretty fast in that jip, and you don't want to accent the foliage with the flowers, or just the opposite. You don't want to put all your foliage in there and then add your flowers, but add in your foliage to the flowers so that you can put them in where they make the most sense. So that is accenting your foliage with the flowers. Touch where you want it to go, back off for a little bit, and then touch it right back in place, and it should clearly stay where you intended for it to be. And we're almost through here. Just a couple of blooms. We're going to put another little piece of foliage right in behind that there. And then I want to accessorize. So I've built the base of the corsage. You can see how quickly that went. These are some pieces off of a broken bracelet. Nothing should be thrown away. You want to use it as much as possible. I've taken the pieces and I have rewired them on a piece of metallic wire, and I always curve the metallic wire because it gives me a place for me to add my glue in. And then I'm going to decide where I want that to slip in. Let's add it right there, because remember, any kind of accessory that you put in, you want to make sure that it's going somewhere it can be seen. Adding the glue into that glue base. By wadding up your wire right there, you've got several places for the glue to touch. That way it stays clearly in place where you want it to. Let me show you how I made these little trinkets here, taking the little beads that fell off of, like I said, the broken bracelet. I am threading them into the metallic wire. And then you take that first piece of wire, wrap it over, twist it so that that bead is not going to come off. The bead is securely on there. Then take the second bead and I twist the wire around it, stretch it out. Take the third bead and I'm stretching around that. And we're going to ignore that phone ringing in the background. These are just the way things happen sometimes when you're recording. We'll return their call when we finish up here. And you can see I've got all 3 beads easily on there. And we clip the wire and we're going to twist it like I showed you into a little loop for me to have some place to put the glue on there. And we've only got one more thing that I want to share with you before we're finished up here. But you can see how in just a few minutes we have created the corsage. And let's put this in where it can be seen down that way. So beautiful corsage, all started with a very simple base of the UGlue strip, 2 of them put together. One piece of the paper is going to stay on there, the other one I'm going to peel off. But the last thing I want to share is that people love butterflies. And if you want to sell something, then you need to put in a bug, a bird, or a butterfly, and it's going to fly right out the door. So we're going to add this. I've created the same thing on the bottom there, the little base wire, so that I have something to administer the glue to, keeping my glue standing up in there. And I want that to be coming out of my main flower, so I'm just separating my blooms and I'm sticking it right down in there. And isn't that a beautiful little corsage for the prom or for a mother-to-be? It's pink and blue, sounds very appropriate to me. And when you're ready to wear, you just show them how to peel it right off of that back side, and then we can easily attach it. I peeled the wrong side off, sorry about that. So we peel the back side off, leaving the sticky UGlue on the corsage. I know I made that sound super easy, didn't I? And then now look at this, there we go. So we peel it off. Come on, cooperate with me here. Peel it off, and it adheres to whatever they might be wearing. I hope this will help you in making some of your personal flowers a little faster, a little easier, and a little more up to date. See you again next time.